So welcome back to Module 9 of Straight Line Persuasion. Now you're really in the home stretch. Only one more module to go after this one. And this particular module, very powerful. What you're going to learn here is two very, very important things. One are trigger words that actually bypass the conscious mind and allow you to influence and persuade on an unconscious level. These words might seem ridiculous at first hand, but here's the deal. It's scientifically proven. There's been studies, and they've actually gone through, double-blind studies where they've shown now a word like only or a word like because can dramatically increase your ability to persuade somebody to do something. Secondly, you're going to learn what's called offsetting language patterns. And what offsetting language patterns are phrases and groups of words that create a specific emotion that neutralizes a negative emotion. So if someone might be worried, then you could create a language pattern that offsets worry. If someone wants to think about it because they think it might be too expensive, or they're just simply one of those people that wants to think about it, you're going to learn a language pattern that will offset someone's notion that thinking about things actually makes any sense. And I'll tell you this, of all the objections I've ever gotten as a salesperson, I want to think about it as one that, I hate. I want to smack someone, right? Because, what does that really mean? So offsetting language patterns here are going to really take you from, a level 8 as a persuader, as a straight line persuader, to level 10. It's going to allow you to loop in a way that is really, really elegant and really, really effective. So go at this one, with some gusto. You got one more left after this. Keep the action book out and write down the offsetting language patterns. Write them down and memorize these. Take these to heart. And also develop some of your own based on your specific industry. You'll see many of the patterns I give you for language are generic because I wanted to keep it broad. So people from all walks of life, people that are not even really selling in the traditional sense, might be selling information, might be just trying to sell their vision, might be a teacher looking to get her kids to do their homework, right? It could be anything. But these language patterns and these key trigger words are going to propel you to a whole new level. And they're going to make you sound what I call good. You see someone, wow, he sounds really good, or she sounds really good. So that's what these keywords will help you do, and that's what these language patterns will help you accomplish. So go at it, and I'll see you real soon. There are certain words that we're going to use here. Okay, let me give you these words. They're called trigger words. They're devilish, these trigger words. Virtually. Okay. Virtually is a great hedge word for legality. Very few things in life happen always, but a lot of things happen virtually always. Use virtually whenever you can to not put yourself in a regulatory box. Do not speak in absolutes. I promise you this, all my clients have made money. Virtually all my clients have gotten good results. Not all my clients have gotten good results. This is a very important word when you're selling. When you make guarantees to people, they kind of know it's bullshit anyway. Every one of my clients makes money. Oh, really? Come on, stop. Most of my clients, that's more reasonable. Virtually all my clients, they know it, but what happens is virtually, instead of a weird word, it short circuits their, they know it, they know you hedged, they get it. They know you've hedged somehow, they're not really sure how, but you get the point across that what you have is really, really cool. You could say most of my clients have made money, or virtually all my clients, they virtually wins the ticket every time. A much more powerful word, okay? Next word. Only. This is huge. Only is a minimizer. That means when you ask for an order and you put a dollar amount, you don't just say it's $49.95. I see a direct marketing whiz back there saying, yeah, this is obvious stuff, right? Only minimizes the impact of the price. They've done studies with this stuff. It's wild. And I'll tell you about a couple of stories in a second. Next, because. Justifier. Now, if you think, how powerful can because be? Let me tell you how powerful because can be. There's a guy named Robert Cialdini who wrote a book. He was about influence. He's a teacher, a professor. And he wrote this amazing book on influence. It's the science of influence. And he actually did studies and he tested this stuff. Here's one of the tests that he did. In college, I think it was in Arizona, Arizona State, and they sat by a copy machine that was a busy copy machine, and they waited till there was like 7 or 8 people in line, and then somebody would just walk up to the front of the line and say, can I cut the line and make my copies? And about 25% of the time, the whole line would say, yeah, whatever, and they let the person make copies, right? 25%. They went back the next day with a new strategy. Same line. You mind if I cut the line because I'm in a rush? 75% said, yeah, go ahead, cut the line. Because I'm in a rush. Because I'm in a rush. You're saying, well, okay, it's because he's in a rush. They did it again. Excuse me, you mind if I cut the line because I really need to? Okay, 75% said yes. Look it up, it's true. Because I need to. It doesn't matter what the because even is. Just, it doesn't matter what it is. It could be because of anything. Because the sky is freaking blue, okay, for some reason it flips a switch in us that just, well, look, okay, he's got a reason, he's justified. Called a justifier. They did the same thing with the word only. Very similar thing. They said, you need to cut the line because I'm in a rush. It'll only take a minute. 95% of the people say cut the line. They added only. This works. Don't kid yourself. You use only when you ask for price, when you ask for commitments. Use the word because to justify things you ask for, why you need them. It doesn't really matter what you say, but why not say something smart? Not because, my mom is in a rush to get off the high. Say something smart, right? Hugely powerful words. Here's another one to show you the human psychology. Let's talk about reciprocity. Giving value first, and then getting massive value back from somebody else. We're going to get into this a bit later in the end of the presentation with developing customers for life. But the idea of reciprocity is simple. You give, and people feel obligated, right? It's one of the cornerstones of 7 principles of sales, scientifically, reciprocity. They did a study with a waitress. They actually tested to see how you could increase a tip as a waitress. So the waitress goes over and she gives you the check, you get X percent, 10% tip, right? Waitress comes over and she gives you the tip with a smiley face that she draws in front on the check. Smiley face, thank you, right? She gets 15%. Then she drops 2 chocolates with the check at the table, and she gets 25%. Again, for the chocolates. You get more money for the chocolates. Very good, right? Here's the clincher. The waitress comes over, she puts the smiley face on the check, she drops the chocolates on the check, she gives him the check, she walks away, turns around and puts 3 more chocolates on, 75% tip. Get it? You're special. It's a special. You're not good people. Here, take some extra. 75%. They tested this. I'm not making this. I'm going to look it up on the internet. It's true. I couldn't believe it myself. I'm like, that's how crazy it is out there. You don't think you can influence people with a straight line? Human beings, we're like malleable. We are manipulatable. That's what I'm saying is you got to use this stuff ethically. Because you start running these patterns on people and giving your onlys and your becauses and what's the worst that could happen, and let me ask you a question, if you knew me for years, and all this stuff, and they need the product, bam, they buy. And even they don't need the product, they buy. The same way they let you cut the line with the copies. That's how we're built. It's how we're built. Cash outlay. This is called a reframer. My product doesn't cost anything. It's an investment. It's a cash outlay. Or a cash outlay of only, you get it? You combine your minimizer with your reframer to talk. You don't think that works? Guess what it does? They've studied this stuff. It's all been studied. These simple words, percentage point here, you do everything right, your closing rate soars. But you use this, remember, these are just power words that are used in the context of the straight line. As you're going through the line, you're adding on these things wherever you can. Keeping the guy, building your case and building. What this is doing is building up your positives, right? Think about it. When you say it's only, what's happening? You're knocking off a negative, it's inexpensive, and I'm getting all the value. That's it. Scales. When you say because, well, he's got a reason why he's a good person. Scales, there's a reason. Get it? That's what this is doing. That's a reframer. Okay? I would be glad to. Another reframer. Especially powerful for after the fact, when you have a customer. Customer calls you up and has a question. You say, I have to find out about that. I'm not sure. I have to go find out. I have to look that up. I have to go check with my boss. I have to go check with my manager. You do that, you get X% response. Or you say, oh, I'd be glad to talk to my manager about that. I would be glad to look that up for you. I'd be glad to research that for you. A, huge rapport builder, and it also helps the way you feel about yourself. Because the words you say, your self-talk, the words you say to yourself, is dictated by the language patterns you're in. If you're sitting there saying, I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to, you feel like crap all day. You have to do everything. You're a freaking slave. Reframes yourself. I will be glad to. Now we have the offsetting language patterns, okay? Write these down. Hold your hand every step of the way. These are things you're going to insert in your patterns, in your loops. You get what I'm saying here? Is that a positive or a negative? What is it? Positive, right? Bingo. The negative is I'm going to leave you out hung to dry. That's a huge negative. People are worried about that. When you utter those words, you have knocked off a negative and created a huge positive. This must exist in your presentation. Not in the beginning, in the end, when it matters. When it matters. I'll show you all the ins and outs. Huge. People are scared to buy because they get, oh, how am I going to use it? How am I going to do it? What is it hard? All this sort of stuff. A lot of energy expended. What is that? A negative energy expended, negative or positive? Negative, right? I'm going to show you the ins and outs. I'm knocking out that negative, and I'm making it easy, simple, wonderful. Ah, I love a product that's so easy to use. They show me everything. It's so simple. It's turnkey. Huge. Next one. Huge upside with a little downside. We ran that pattern, right? Before, what's the worst that could possibly happen? And that one is so powerful that I suggest that you repeat it more than once. In other words, if you go to another close, and you're in your third and fourth close, keep putting that up there. Keep that's the one that's the ultimate scale way, upside downside. Keep that one in the forefront. Very powerful. It's incredibly easy to get started. Wait a second, how the hell am I going to modify my loan? I can just imagine the mountains and mountains of paperwork and federal regulation required to get, that's what he's thinking. Oh my, get my credit fixed? Buy a home, oh my God. It's incredibly simple. People don't want to expend energy. You're knocking out a negative, adding a positive. An in-depth training program. This is great when people are doing something that's going to require them to learn. What it says, we're going to be there for you, holding your hand every step of the way. In-depth training program. It's a long-term relationship. I touched on this before. What I can do for you over the long term. Future pace. Also, what you've done is you've assumed that the first transaction has gone well. You've already said, oh, what I can do for you besides this is nothing. Nothing. You don't say that, but your tonality is such. You know, once we do this, what I can do for you besides one transaction, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. You don't say that, but that's your tone. This child's play. Getting your credit fixed, getting your loan modified, getting you to sign up for something, child's play. Selling cars, child's play. Your house, no big deal. The next step is when I can really be an asset to you and your family. That's the pattern, okay? It's surefire, paint by numbers. You have a system. People love buying systems. They love especially turnkey systems that are paint by numbers, step by step, move by move. Money rolls in, freedom rolls out. Paint by numbers. Know your patterns here, and you get a loop with these. Again, same concept. You save the most powerful patterns for last. Why? Why? Notice what I did there. I said why was a declarative, and everyone looked at me like, right, and I said, why? And you're like, well, and see, one was a declarative, one was a question. I said why, two different meanings. My mother say Jordan or Jordan. They don't mean the same thing. You all know that tonal difference, right? Your most powerful language patterns are saved for last. Okay? If you do even half as well as the rest of the people that have gone through this program, these are closing lines. All I ask is this: you give me one shot. Now, just so you know, some of these are more salesy than others. Pick the ones that are congruent with who you are. Because we're all different. Some of us like the more snappiness. That's where we live. Others not. Pick lines and patterns that are congruent with who you are, that make you feel comfortable and make you like what you do for a living. Don't do stuff that puts you in a position where you feel, and I say it, but it makes me cringe. Don't ever use lines that make you cringe. I'm giving you a lot of them, so you pick the ones that work for you. The only problem you'll have is they didn't call you 6 months ago and get you started then. Sound fair enough? Future pace. Believe me, you will not be sorry. Sound fair enough? That's your last close. That's very powerful, number one. Very powerful, number three. Number two is in a precise close. It comes before a close. Those are powerful patterns. Believe me, you're going to be very, very impressed. Weak. Good first close. All I'm asking is you give me one shot, and believe me, you're going to be very, very impressed. Sound fair enough? I'll say it again. All I ask is this: you give me one shot, and believe me, you're going to be very, very impressed. Sound fair enough? And believe me, if you do even half as well as the rest of the people who've gone through this program, you're going to be very, very impressed. The second one is stronger. The second one's stronger. I use number 5 in the beginning because I don't think they're going to close anyway. Why should I waste a good one then? I come at every sale from a very different angle than you probably have in the past. I always expected no one embraced it and wait, just something to get out of the way. I know that. Every time I pick it, I know. Doesn't bother me. I reframe it. I'm one step closer to yes. I save my best stuff for last. Once I got there, once I know I have them pretty close and the teetering on the scales, then I'll throw in. If you do even half as well, all I ask is, listen, all I ask is, after you've made money with this, I want a ton of referrals. Sound fair enough? All right, fair enough? Now my tone won't be fair enough. Be fair enough? All right, is that a deal? Is that enough for you? Come on, all right? You happy with that? Tonality. Believe me, if I'm even half, oh, here it is. Number 6. I want referrals. Number 7. Your wife will be kissing you when you walk through the door. It's a great one for the wife. Remember I said I insert a closing line with the wife? That's it. Believe me. And the guy calls me, she slapped me. Well, not all wives, some wives. Next, you'll be sending your kids to the finest schools. Please, please, I'm saying this, guys, ethics, ethics. I'm giving you the full boat here, okay? But if your product, by the way, will help them do that, then say it. It's a powerful emotional want. But if your product won't do that, please do not say it. You will burn in hell. Okay? Here's one that's it's a variation of the other one about referrals. This one talks about referrals, but insinuates that you're not making any money on the transaction. So it works really well with I shouldn't even tell you this stuff. It's terrible. It works really well with a language pattern when you said, listen, on this one trade, on this one transaction, after I split my commission with the firm and the government, I can't take my wife out for lunch in Tampa. I'm not getting rich here. But I know you do really, really well here, and you'll give me a ton of referrals, and that's how my business truly grows. Sound fair enough? It's a killer one. But please only use it if it's like, if you're not making a lot of money and that's your business, then this is great. Use it if it's true. Don't use it if you're raking it in on the first trade and you're just using it to manipulate the guy. Get the difference? This is very often the case. In fact, I'm certain it's the case with a lot of you that you actually don't make a lot on the way in. You make it because they're happy and it mushrooms out. Great pattern for that. Language patterns for looping. This was number one, right? Does the idea make sense to you? Do you like the idea? Not, does the idea make sense to you? Do you like the idea, moron? Or does the idea make sense to you? Do you like the idea? No big deal. Just really just curious to know. Because, like, I've done this 1,000 times. No one's ever not loved the idea. I'm just curious. Do you like the idea? I mean, get it? That's your tonality. You see, the true beauty of the program is that it's X, Y, Z, and it doesn't matter. The true beauty of the program. And remember, earlier in the line, you're not quite as powerful with your bullets. You're saving your bullets for when it really matters. But that's a beautiful transition, a deflection device. If I'd been your advisor, I've been your sales rep, I've been selling you flowers, I've been selling you cars, if you've been booking seminars with me, if you've been buying printing supplies from me, if you've been booking air travel with me and I've been putting you on the best flights and the best cruises and cruise directors, it's for any business, not just stocks, bonds, anything, anything. I've been your advisor for the last 3 or 4 years, showing you consistent performance, making you money on a consistent basis, saving you money on a consistent basis, delivering you a product on a consistent basis, making sure your clients are satisfied on a consistent basis. You wouldn't be saying, let me think about it right now. You'd be saying, go ahead and do it. Am I right? I didn't use the right language pattern there. Just the right tonality, I just was kidding around. You would say, do it. You'd be very nice. You'd probably just be saying, do it, right? That's the real pattern. That's the, don't ever forget tonality. And as far as my company goes, as you transition from selling yourself to selling your company. I pride myself on doing this. I pride myself on that. I plan on being the top producer of my company. I'm not going to get that by being wrong. And I'm not going to get them on my clients by giving me tons of referrals because they love me. And as far as my company goes, boom. Find out the best things you can say about your company that are honest and ethical, and you say them. Forrest Gump. How do you tell someone you're trustworthy? Tell them. I pride myself not on being trustworthy. I pride myself on my long-term relationships with my clients. What does that say? I'm trustworthy. You don't say I'm trustworthy. I pride myself that on my relationships, doing the right thing by my clients. Customer service, being there in good times and bad. Come up with something that's congruent for you, that's truthful, honest, but sounds great. Sounds sexy. What we can do for you besides this one transaction. Forget the question mark, by the way. It's a mistake. That word must have blopped on there by accident. No question mark required. And what I can do for you besides this one transaction, and what I can do for you besides this one transaction in the way of mortgages, other car models, upgrades, travels, any industry, doesn't matter. Find the 3 things you can do for them outside this one transaction. And by the way, it could be your upsells. You're setting the stage for your upsells. Pre-frame your upsells as benefits here. What's the worst that can possibly happen? The ultimate minimizer. Let them run the equation. Totally blows up. Still a great thing. More for looping. We could start off small, work bigger and better in the future. Another great one. Great, great, great. What I did not say is after the first loop, don't cut price on your first loop unless you never really intended on selling your product at that price. And I hate that game where people price their stuff so high out of the market knowing they're going to reduce. It's sort of very sleazy and unethical, and I really don't think that's a great game to play. You're better off starting at some price that you can reduce from, for sure. This could be 2 ways. It could be a price reduction. Not this. I'm saying it could be a price reduction. And this one is buying less of. You understand the distinction? The first one is if you're saying, let's do this, okay? Why don't we start off small, okay? You pick up X amount of this instead of the full boat, right? Smaller program. The other one is, you can just literally cut your price on something. Dicey. We'll go through that later. How to cut price. Please don't misconstrue my enthusiasm for pressure. Very important one. Especially for those of you who tend to be more high pressure. Say it. Put it out there. They're feeling it. If you say it, they'll respect you. If you don't say it, they're going to say, oh, well, this guy's just pressuring me. He's pressuring me. In real estate, it's location, location, and location. This is a great response to the person that says, let me think about it. If the guy is still hung up on let me think about it, what you say, listen, sir, let me say this. I understand you want to think about it. Now, if he's still there in 3 loops, I want to think about it. I would not say I hear what you're saying. Say, I understand what you're saying, but let me say this. In real estate, there's 3 rules. Location, location, and location. In my business, it's timing, timing, and timing. Don't tie my hands behind my back. Right now, every technical and fundamental factor is in your favor. Bam. And now you create a case why time is of the essence, why he can't wait. Combined into a pattern. So again, what's the worst that can happen? If I'm wrong, you see what I'm saying? You can start putting loops together. So very simple, just putting the pieces together. 10. Getting started is very simple, just a question of some basic information. Last, cash outlay of only $19.97 versus saying what? It cost $19.97. Right now, in this moment, every fundamental and technical factor is in your favor. Bam, bam, bam. What's the bam? Bullet, 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 bullet. The government is doing this. The system is doing that. They're going to change the rule for that. They just lowered the price on that. There's a window of opportunity. Get it? Bullet, bullet, bullet. And like I said, what's the worst that can possibly happen here? If I'm totally wrong, you get it? Now your tone's pleading. Honestly, please, can you see now when you get a pleading tone? Can you see the light, goddammit? I mean, God, open your eyes. You can't say all that. But your tone is, what's the worst that could possibly happen? Honestly. I don't have to say honestly. What's the worst that could possibly happen? Let's say I'm wrong. Let's say I'm wrong. Don't cry, but you're almost like, let's say I'm wrong. Okay. Tonal patterns for closing. Okay. Collapse into reasonableness and calmness. Okay? Here you go. Ready? Here's the roadmap. If you do even half as well, absolute certainty. Remember I said it before, now it's written down for you. If you do even half as well as the rest of the people that have gone through this program, utter sincerity, you're going to be very, very impressed. Next. Sound fair enough? Reasonable man. That's your pattern for closing, tonal pattern. Please, please, please use this stuff ethically. I'm going to say it again. All right? It's very powerful. Use it to help people make good decisions, to buy things they should be buying. Empower people to break through barriers that have been holding them back from making good decisions. That's what this is for. It's not to get people and extract money out of their wallet to put into yours. Shame on you if you do that. I did it and went to jail. Was separated from my children. I lost all my money, my self-respect. The fact that I'm standing here is a miracle. I'm one of the few that can bounce back. Mostly people don't. So learn from my mistakes. Use this stuff, and it works, boy. You know it works. It works. But use it right, and you will soar. You will soar with it. So remember, the key with offsetting language patterns and trigger words is that you have to use them at specific times that make sense in your industry. I want you now, as an exercise, to identify 2 of the language patterns that I laid out for you. I want you to then customize them so they directly suit your specific field. So if you're a stockbroker, you would add a stock into that. You know, it might be something about, you know, a certain share trading at some price and, you know, what's the worst that can possibly happen. We can work with a stop loss. If you're a real estate broker, it might be something about, what's the worst that can happen? Let's say you put a down payment on the house and you can't get a mortgage. You could always get the money back, right? You know, whatever it might be, there's a language pattern that disarms someone and prevents them from getting into that, I want to think about it thing. It also can minimize the sort of impact that a big number might have. Let's say, a product might cost $50,000. Well, saying it costs $50,000 versus being a cash outlay of $50,000, or better yet, a cash outlay of only $50,000, it becomes infinitely more palatable to your prospect. So again, do the exercise. Take 2 key language patterns, customize them to your industry, and tomorrow I want you to use them.